Tales from Outer Suburbia by SHAUN. Now, Tales from Outer Suburbia is one of those stories that go ahead and give us wide acclaim in our lives as well too. First off, the first thing I thought of when I saw Suburbia was the fact that in my brain I pictured an image of basically Australia, mainly because of two clues. At the back, there was literally this little drawing that went ahead and showed us that said, "Thank you to the Australian government for helping us in creating Tales of Suburbia." So I'm assuming this is Australia. But then some of the stories are otherworldly. And so my theory is that this is like a little space story, but it's set on a different world, a different Earth. And on this Earth, everything's the same except for all these tales that we've had here as well too. We have water buffalo going ahead and just pointing at where to go without saying anything, and then going back to sleep in the grass of meadows that really no one mows. And then we also have stories that such as a bunch of these stick figures made of actual sticks. This little guy who's literally made of black fuzzy stuff. He's a foreign exchange student apparently, and this hasn't been shown in writing, but a bunch of TV sets going ahead and attacking your grandma and grandpa, your grandma and grandpa when they were younger, just before they got married, and this was their scavenger hunt, which apparently everyone had to do back then. With these tales from outer suburbia, we went ahead and realized that a lot of people themselves are actually alone by themselves also too. I think Tales from Outer Suburbia is mainly a story, other than entertaining us, it also goes ahead and gives us an idea about the world itself too. Of course, it actually can happen. It is Tales from Outer Suburbia. It's literally a world that's fantasy and not much you can do here. You technically can make a stick figure out of actual sticks, but good luck making it stand, let alone walk by itself. So many other things in Tales of Outer Suburbia are just nonsensical that I'm not sure why. I don't get it why people. I get it why people like it, but I don't know why people are required to read it as well too. Tales from Outer Suburbia may be a classic, and it may expand our world in 3 views. Now I don't get it how these views work out, but according to the series, there are 3 things that I can, off the top of my head, think of why you should read Tales from Outer Suburbia. Number 1, you're a fantasy lover. Then, well, you can go ahead and get into the land of fantasy as well too. I personally like stick figures a lot, and so when I found that section about stick figures, I went ahead and read that section a lot. Then, of course, so many other things are happening about this too. Number 2, you go ahead and you basically want to learn how to fight your own battles as well too. Poetry is one of the most important things in the entire world, and this poetry is just one of the few things that we have in our own world that goes ahead and shares and lets us use things as well too. It's a little art of words. What a paintbrush is to a painting, the letter is to a poem. I think that's what the Outer Suburbia also wants to teach us as well too, to just go ahead and let us dissect our own inner demons. Of course, most of these things can happen in our own lives, but hitting other people just because they're not responding to us or not answering our questions isn't something new. In fact, humans have done this for a while. In fact, we are even doing this right now. Riots, they're basically hitting people who are innocent, even though they did nothing wrong. And this Tale of Outer Suburbia is just one of the more special items, special stories that goes ahead and just shows us things as well too. The third reason why I think we should read Tales from Outer Suburbia is that it's about Outer Suburbia. It's a place where it's full of wonderland. Alice in Wonderland, but a bunch of wonders in the land, a bunch of scary monsters, and you can go ahead, it may even teach you how to conquer your own inner demons. Go ahead and just think about it yourself as well too. It shows us in a life. It shows our life, but in a way that can't really happen. You obviously cannot go into a place where TVs will attack you, but you can go to a place where the magnetic field of the surrounding iron is so strong that your compass starts going wonky. That is possible. But mainly the reason why I started reading Tales of Suburbia was the fact that I actually quite enjoy fantasy myself as well too. It lets me discover my inner self, and all those demons that were shown in this book, those were all things that went ahead and told us things about our own life. Poetry is, the way it was written, it just sounded a lot like what a kid would write as well too. It shows us mystery, it shows us tales from another place, from a wondrous land that I wish I would go if there were no monsters or TVs attacking you, and every hotel was not had no vacancy. If none of that existed, I would go to Tales from Outer Suburbia. I would love to see the stick figures and probably protect them from the people who go ahead and try to bang their heads off with their own sticks. And why was Tales from Outer Suburbia written? Mainly because Shaun Tan just wanted to write something about Australian ideas. But then again, this is a fantasy genre as well too. Maybe he wanted to go ahead and write about something that dissects our own little world, like what Wisecrack does. You have to search on YouTube to find out what that is. But then also added a fantasy genre in it with as well, so that kids can read it and understand it a little bit as well too. Kids read Tales from Outer Suburbia. In fact, younger people younger than me actually read Tales from Outer Suburbia as well too. However, I'm not sure they understand the true meaning between Tales of Suburbia too. I'm not sure Shaun Tan would agree with me on this. I'm gonna have to email him personally to do that, but Tales from Outer Suburbia, maybe just a little dissection of our lives in like a pop culture kind of way. Except instead of pop culture, we have fantasy genres, something that you would more likely be able to find in Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings than you would in like say an Andy Warhol artwork. So go read Tales from Suburbia, see what you learn, and maybe find out the author's purpose by yourself. Sometimes maybe it's better to have a paper book instead of the e-book, like the way I read it. And it may just help you understand it as well, too. It's great just to feel the pages and maybe find things that look like a collage, but then you realize it's just printed on paper. It's just kind of sad whenever I found out that the wrinkles on the page are actually part of the book and not something I made. It just doesn't make it feel less like... It doesn't make it feel less like a book, but it just feels less like a personal book. Then again, the collages, the things that was created for this book itself, it just makes it pop out of the pages myself as well too. It just makes it pop out and helps visualize things. Although I think visualizations actually made it a bit less intriguing because now I can't imagine for myself. The book has to imagine it for me now. But then again, when I stopped looking at the illustrations, I imagined it for myself. I saw it of a human instead of what the illustration which showed a black furry guy who was apparently the foreign exchange student. In fact, the pictures themselves are actually parts of the story itself too. Sometimes there are no words, and like a comic book, get to look at the pictures to find out what this thing is. One of the stories basically ended up with saying something like, and then we saw what he did in the kitchen pantry. And then the next page, we saw a picture of the kitchen pantry with a bunch of flowers. And then there was a note saying, "Thank you for the wonderful time." It doesn't describe it at all, but the picture shows it all. Sometimes a word, like a picture shows a million words. Sometimes words aren't enough to describe a place. And with that, of course, we've ended the review of Tales from Outer Suburbia, an unknown place, I'm guessing from an outer space Earth-like planet in the upside down country, aka Australia. The down under country. I hope to see you guys soon. Until next time, shine out, peace, bye bye. Oh, and fair warning, don't get eaten by Unplugged TV.